Okay,
There we go.
thank you, Audrey. I'm Elizabeth Janet. I'm the president for my Sins of Inverness Botany Group. So it's my responsibility tonight to welcome you along and hope that we will all give you our full attention. No, not despite the soup consumption. I've got a wee bit of an information about you that Audrey passed on, saying that you're a scientist by trade, and you like the outdoors, enjoyed looking at plants, and decided you would maybe like to take it a bit further and identify plants. I think we cannot, well, I'm very familiar with that as well as a keen hill walker and thinking, I keep on seeing the same things. I wonder what they are. So you joined the Wildflower Society and I joined the Inverness Botany Group. But hopefully for both of them, it's both of us, it's meant that we've got learned an awful lot about plants that we perhaps walked past before. Um, I was a bit dismayed to see that you've been the meeting secretary for 10 years. That's an awful long time. And I hope your membership appreciates the work that you do. And you have a successor waiting and knowing for you. But looking forward to hear you talking. And I'm sure we'll have a lovely evening. So thank you. And over to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And can I thank Audrey as well for inviting me to talk to the Inverness Botany Group. About, I think, 2 or 3 years ago now, Audrey and Bob did a Wildflower Society field meeting for us in the uh, Inverness, Aviemore area, which was we thoroughly enjoyed. It was absolutely brilliant, and this is just my way of saying a very small thank you to them both, to Audrey and Bob, for that wonderful meeting that we really enjoyed. Thank you very much. Yes, I am a scientist, but can I just point out that I am not actually, I never have had a single biology lesson in my life. So, if you ask deep and meaningful questions about the sort of innermost workings of plants, I'm not your person. If you want enthusiasm, enjoyment, and the joy of botany, then I probably am. And Elizabeth sort of touched on it a little bit. I say to some people, goodness me, what other hobby could you have where you go to nice places to see nice things with really nice people? If you want that, then botany is for you. Now, Audrey, shall I try to share my screen now?
Yep. Okay, that's it.
Oh, it keeps flicking back off that one. I want to go to the previous one, really. Okay, is that all right for everybody? Are you seeing a rather nice little pretty flower on the screen?
Yes.
I just thought I'd put that up. I gave a talk recently to a horticultural society, and I thought, I'd put something on that really tempted them. Uh, this is a wildflower. It's a hybrid. It's a cross between salsify and goat's beard, and I saw it in Somerset um, in September. Isn't that exquisite? And that's a wild flower. You'd give it space in your garden any day, wouldn't you? Right. So the Wildflower Society and Inverness Botany Group, thank you for inviting me. Uh, First of all, people have some perhaps images of botanists, and I know that you, together with us, can sort of dispel those a bit. It's so easy to get bottoms in the air pictures, isn't it? But look at that second picture. Can you see the one with the tall plant in the middle of the group of people? That's great lettuce. That was on Woolwich Common in August, which was incredibly dry. But there we are, all standing up and admiring it. Yes, we do go to wild places, but we also, as a wildflower society, we also sometimes go. That The picture in the laboratory was at Treborth Botanical Gardens, which used to belong to Bangor University. Now doesn't, but it is a wonderful place, and we spent some time looking carefully at plants. Are we just fair weather botanists? No. And we'll see this picture later on, and I'll explain what these three musketeers were about to do. Is it all serious? No. This is in Ballyvaughan, and we'd been botanising on the Burren that day, and here we are. We've got on the left there Helen, who's a haematologist and is our webmaster, me in the middle, and on the far right is Maureen, who's a piano teacher. Another thing I like about botany, people come from all sorts of things and are just drawn to it for the love of the plants. How I'm going to structure this is just to tell you a little bit about the Wildflower Society, not very much. And then we're going to go on a journey. So the Wildflower Society, you said you were, I think, Elizabeth, I think you said you were inaugurated in 1956, was that? Or Audrey perhaps said earlier, 1956?
Yeah.
I'm afraid we can beat you a little bit with that one. We're in the late 1800s by Edith Vere Annesley. She was the eldest daughter of a vicar. She had 6 siblings. And when she got past being the age of education, she wanted a job. So she said to her parents she wanted a job. And the job that she got was to be tutor to her youngest sibling, a little girl. And what they did in the morning, Edith did tutoring for her sister. And in the afternoon, they went looking around the fields, looking around the lanes, and they wrote down what they saw and where they saw it, and then found out more about the plants. And gradually, friends said, can we come as well? Can we join in? So that was the start of the Wildflower Society. Edith teaching her little sister and them starting to keep a diary of what they saw when. And as you noted, the past presidents from 1886, when we were founded, right through to 1994, the presidents, who were not many in that sort of 100 years, were all members of Edith's family. Our aims that we try to uphold to promote greater knowledge of field botany, to advance education, and to promote conservation of the British flora. And you notice on that first one, particularly among young people. And to that end, we do try to give grants to people doing FSc courses or PhD students, and we do give grants to wildlife trusts, particularly if they do workshops and things for young people, to further that aim of ours. What do we do? Well, I'm meeting secretary, so I organise field trips. Last year, I organised 50 throughout the UK. This year, I'm in the thick of it at the moment, about to prepare our yearbook, but I have actually prepared 64 days of field meetings throughout the UK, and actually a little bit beyond that this year. Online meetings, like you, we decided in COVID to start this, and I organise field meetings, and I've got one tomorrow that I'm hosting on what's rare in Sussex. No, so Nick Sturt, who's I don't know what you call him, the president or whatever of Sussex. I think they call them Sussex Recording Group. He's giving an online talk about rare plants in Sussex for us. By the way, you're always welcome to join in. I'll show you how to do that. So a few other things as well. I always thought we were a very, very reasonably priced society. An adult member with magazine is £15, for which you get access to all our trips, all our field meetings, all our online meetings, and 4 magazines a year. But I noticed that you're even more bargainacious than we are, actually. So you've beaten us hands down on that one. We do have a web page, and if you put the Wildflower Society into Google, you'll get to our webpage, and there is access to various things. Isn't that a gorgeous picture of a green-winged orchid, by the way? Our online talks this year were those, which I said I do 4 at the beginning of the year and 3 at the end. But so it's a potpourri, really, our online meetings. It's who I can get to do a meeting and with something that seems to be of interest, and just enjoy them, really, just relaxing at the ends of the season. You can actually access them yourself. I record most of them and I then upload to YouTube. So if you go to Wildflower Society YouTube channel, there's 27 of our talks over the last few years, which I've edited and put up onto that channel. So you're very welcome to look at those. By the way, you can always subscribe to our webpage without being a member, and I always send subscribers details about our online meetings as well. Okay, so now the real part of the meeting this evening. Field meetings and what we see. Where do we go to and what do we see? So we're going to have a little trip around. We're going to go on a journey. So I want you to hold on tight to your seat, and we're going to take off, and we're going to go flying around the UK and to some places. We're going to start in the Scilly Isles down here at the bottom. Okay, going to start in the Scilly Isles, and then we're going to hop back onto the mainland in Somerset. We're going to go up to Radnorshire, and then we're going to travel in our cars to Pembroke Dock, take the ferry over to Rosslare, and we're going to go over to Connemara and pay a little trip to the Burren. Then we'll come back via Dublin and Holyhead to North Wales. We'll go up to the Sefton coast, and then we'll whiz up to Inverness just to say hello to Audrey. Down here to the Cairngorms, hop over to the Holy Island, and then zip down, and we'll do a little clutch here of Kent, Surrey, and the New Forest before finishing in my home area, because that's where I am today in this last blob. I'm in the Chilterns in Buckinghamshire. So I hope that suits you. Some of the pictures you'll just see nice flowers, and I'll go quickly over them just to show you, to give you a feeling. I'm sure you all do, but what I like, and that's why I've joined a society that's the UK based. I like to see the different things that are in different places, and the different places might be because of the geology, because of a mountain or in a bog. The variety of flora within the UK is of interest to me, really. So I'm going to give you a little flavour of what you can see in different places. So I hope that suits. So please smile if it is. Does that suit? Yeah. Faye isn't smiling. Oh, yes, she is. I can see her smile. That's okay then, Faye. All right, off we go. Now, all the pictures, by the way, are mine. Why? Because then you don't have to ask permissions if they're all my own. So they're all photographs that I have taken on field meetings over the last few years, and mostly quite recently. If you haven't been to the Isles of Scilly, put them on your bucket list. Really are absolutely stunning. And why are they stunning? They're stunning because of there's lots of little islands, and you can hop from one to another in sort of 10 minutes to here, 10 minutes to there on a little boat, which is fantastic. But also stunning florally, excuse me, because temperature doesn't go below 4 degrees C. So they can flowers that can exist there that couldn't exist on the mainland, and particularly perhaps like for you in Scotland. So the Isles of Scilly, and everything's a bit blousier, a bit more colourful, a bit bigger there. This on the left-hand side here, giant Herb Roberts. On the other side, Hoary Stock. That Hoary Stock was on Tresco, by the way. You might have heard of Tresco. There's botanical gardens on Tresco. I have been to the botanical gardens, but botanical gardens are one thing. What I like is the things that either have escaped the botanical garden or are living there in that area, rather than things that are particularly planted. That's buttonweed. I mean, just look at that. What a plant. And there are different cotulas, but that cotula australis there. By the way, all my photographs are just taken with my phone. So I think these phones have really improved recently. Italian lords and ladies, which we do get on the mainland, but it's a common one there. And the Scilly Isles. Oh, sorry, sorry, I must have just touched that. I like this on the right-hand side there. That's a picture of a wall. Now, I don't know what your walls are like in Inverness, but around Buckinghamshire, a wall in Buckinghamshire will have a little bit of purple toadflax on and a few bits of sort of briar mosses on the top. That you're looking at there is a wall next to, you can see the lane on in St Mary's on in the Isles of Scilly. They're just all there. That's growing out of the walls. I mean, how it's a sort of surreal place to visit, and this is all around you. All those Ioniums and things all around the place. I like this picture. Bit cheeky, really. On the left-hand side, somebody I think, certainly Audrey knows, that's Lynn Jones. Yeah, that's Lynn Jones, Professor of Botany, was at Dundee. And this is Peter Hilton, was a dentist in Bristol. And they're kneeling at the gravestone there, as you can see. I can't see. Wilson, the Prime Minister, and it looks as though they're paying homage. No, no. What they were doing is trying to get close and personal to a tiny toad rush that was on the grave. Yeah, but I don't need to say that. It just looks good, doesn't it? And these
Not sure what's happened. Janet, are you still there?
cancelled.
You,
So oh dear me, that's a
you,
shame.
you froze there for a little while, but you're back now.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Am I all right now?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Okay.
Just when you went onto the slide that you froze completely for some reason.
Oh, this one. Okay. I said these three musketeers. It was a pouring down day. So rough that the little boats wouldn't go to the other islands, and we were on St Mary's. And we wanted to go that day. We wanted to go to St Martin's, but the boats were cancelled. Oh dear. And then as we were walking along the jetty, one of the boatmen said, "Hey, if you want to come with me, I've got to take a medic out to St Martin's. I'll take you if you want to go." So these three intrepid warriors said, "Okay." Everybody else said, "No, thanks. It's far too rough. Not going." But these three said, "Yeah, okay, we'll go." So they did. Why? Because they wanted to see the St Martin's buttercup, which is the thing on the right. Now, if you've seen the St Martin's buttercup, the only place it grows is on St Martin's, and it's a very scruffy little, very tiny little buttercup, and it grows on, I think, what's it called, Castle Martin farm, where you can get if you ever send flowers from Scilly Flowers, and you can send from them sort of bunches of narcissi early in the year, and it grows in one of their fields. But these three blokes were so desperate to see the St Martin's buttercup, they were prepared to go through any weather, any conditions, and they did find it. They did find it. They were very pleased with themselves. However, it's not always so bad on this is the same week. This was on Tresco, and you can see here the the echiums just there and the sand dunes just all over the place. This isn't in any gardens or any tended place. This is just around and about on the island. And there's in the sand dunes. You have to include that picture because the plant's called Sally My Handsome. I mean, all right, that's only its local name, but how nice is that? Okay, we've now come over onto the mainland to Brean Down. And I don't know if you've been to Somerset and Brean Down. Brean Down's a sort of big sort of rock thing that goes out into the sea. You can see what the weather's like on Brean Down by looking at the trees there at the top. This was it's a very interesting. I mean, a place like that, walking up. I mean, the things we saw as we walked up to the top of the outcrop, horseradish, ivy broomrate. I do think the broomrates are always interesting, aren't they? To find, ivy broomrate, obviously what the host is and things like that. And these are in the middle there's Steve Parker, who was leading the meeting. I include that, okay, yeah, some of our meetings are up mountains, some are intrepid warriors going across seas, but some are people that are just, we managed to get where we're going to see the sea, to see the flowers, and it's a bit of an effort, but it's worth it. And this is also on that Brean Down. I think I've got a soft spot for plough and spikenard because I used to think it was something an old-fashioned ploughman must have used, but I've since found out that that's not true, is it? I think spikenard is some chemical. I think it's something. It isn't. I had an imagining of it was some tool like an old-fashioned hoe or something. But anyway, so that's ploughman spikenard, and the obviously as well as nice flowers, we are always looking at interesting grasses and sedges and whatever as well. Now, Stannarock. We've come a little bit north. Stannarock is in Radnorshire. Now, that would be surprising probably if you'd been there. It's a sort of little out of the way county. And there's this sort of pimple in Radnorshire. There's not hills around. There's this little pimple of it's called Stannarock. The Victorians used to go there. There used to be a station so that they could go and climb around Stannarock, but the little station's closed now. It's unusual because it's there in the middle of quite flat ground, really, around it. And there's one of the faces is towards the south, so it gets very dry and it's not very thick soil on it. So it's got some very unusual plants on it. And if you look in sort of the atlas, sorry, the atlas, you notice that there's two plants where it's the only place in the UK that the perennial knoll and the Radnor lily are found. And I think that on that little hump that you just saw is the only place in the UK to go for these two little plants. I mean, how surprising is that? And it does make you think, how on earth did it get there? I mean, you can conjecture how they got there on birds' feet or blown by the wind, the seeds, or whatever. But it is surprising. And the Radnor lily, it wasn't found until relatively recently because it actually only blooms in February. So you wouldn't go out in February, climb a steep rocky slope to see if you could find anything. When you would have been rewarded. That's the perennial knoll. By the way, if you know that plant, don't think of it as a big a big bloomer. You have to get down like that to actually with your lens on your hands and knees to find it and have a look at it. And that's the Radnor lily. Sorry, it's a bit blurry because it's um, one thing about the Radnor lily, the leaves look like grass. So most of it is because the soil is so poor and so thin that actually each little bulb has to gather its strength for years and years and years before it can pop out into a bloom. So actually, you see what looks like just loads of grass, and then every so often it gets itself together and they flower. But it's not only, I mean, if you go to Stanner, I think we saw there were about 5 plants out when we went there. I mean, there were thousands and thousands which weren't flowering, but you can see the Radnor lily. And there was other things there as well on the Stanner Rocks, which I mean, sticky catchfly. What a nice plant is that? I mean, you know, Audrey, wouldn't you like a dress like that colour? If we wore dresses these days, if we had anywhere to go. But I mean, look at that. I mean, what a gorgeous plant. Anyway, now I thought we'd just do this. I have an extremely soft spot for the west of Ireland. Some years ago, I did a little bit of ancestry and found out that because I knew I had Irish roots, and I'm about 50% Irish, and I find my family come from Mayo, and I've been quite involved with them over the last 20 years or so. So going over to Connemara, by the way, they're Irish speaking as well, which is not so usual, but that's what they do in the Gaeltacht areas. But we had last year we had a meeting in Connemara. Connemara, again, it's another sort of botanical hotspot, really. Connemara is rather like being out in America, you know, in the mountains at the west of no, sorry, east, no, west of America, but on a much smaller scale. Connemara is lovely. You see these plants actually. You see these plants. You've got lots of your own bogs and mountains, I know. So these are not unusual plants for you. But as I say, Connemara, I love it. I mean, look at that water. This was in the bog in Connemara, but you didn't need to go far to see them. Not far off the road, the water lobelia and the lesser bladderwort. Just I don't know, stunning plants that you can't help a smile coming to your face when you see them, can you? With plants like that, I mean, they're just so beautiful. The water lily and pipewort. I've seen pipewort in Scotland, but again, I mean, what a silly plant! You know, a little blob on the end of a stick. I mean, it's just to find it and see it and look, it's wonderful. And last year, having gone to the Connemara, we then ducked down to the Burren, which again, you've got places similar, I think. Certainly, there's Gate Barrows in Cumbria is limestone pavement like the Burren is. But again, if you haven't been to the Burren and you're a botanist, I think have you been there, Audrey, with the group?
The group went in 2000. I
Yeah,
wasn't a member then,
oh,
but
I thought you'd said to me that there had been
yeah.
a trip to the Burren, but the Burren. I mean, what's fascinating about it is, as you can see on that picture, you've got the rocks, you've got the sea, you've got grass. So, I mean, you park your car and you never go the whole day more than 100 meters from your car and it stays completely in your sight. And you're seeing plants that grow near the sea, plants that grow on the mountain, plants that grow in fields, and they're all coexisting down these little cracks on the limestone pavement. It's just fascinating and just amazing. We on that trip. I don't know whether I've put a picture of her on. I did approach the VC for the County Clare, and she put me in touch with an expert on the Burren called Sinead Keane. And Sinead does botanical trips to groups on the Burren. And she was just, I mean, she just knew where every plant was. I mean, and so she joined us for the day, which was just a joy. It was just so lovely. By the way, one plant we saw is the mountain avens, which, again, one of my favourite plants because it's a pretty little plant, mountain avens, isn't it? It's a pretty little plant. And then it goes silly. When it gets to the seed side, it goes into this funny, twisted, spirally twisting thing at the end. And if you didn't know the two belong together, you would. I'm sure if you were just starting on botany and no idea what it was, you would never put them together because it just looks too unusual for words. These were all on the Burren, by the way. When I give a header and then plants after that, it's always what we saw there. And again, you're not going hunting. I mean, I went looking for a frog orchid recently at Hartslock near Goring on Thames, and there was a field with grass, up to your knees almost. And somebody said, "Yeah, there's a frog orchid around here being seen." Well, we all look for it, and I thought, do you know what? We could look forever to try to find that frog orchid, even with a GPS. On the Burren, there's no grass, so you can see them, you can find these things. They're just there in the cracks, and that was a frog orchid I took there. And there were different orchids, and the dark red helleborines are something that's glorious there to find and see, and the gentians, of course, all the ones that are rather special to see. But I've been to the Burren about 3 times now, and I'd like to go more. It's like being a kid being in a sweetie shop. There's just so much to see, and you can't stop looking, and it's just all you sort of a bit on a high, and you can't stop smiling. Have you ever had that feeling? I remember my husband and I, we found the Snowdon lily. It was a wet, miserable day, and we found the Snowdon lily, and they were flowering. And I was walking down from Snowdon, and I suddenly thought I passed some people, and I thought they must think I'm strange. I'm walking down in the rain with a smile from one side of my face to the other because I just thought it's just so magic to have seen it when I didn't think I would really. Anyway, and now we're in North Wales. Excuse me a minute. Where we used to go. I was born and brought up in Lancashire. We used to go to North Wales for our summer holidays, and of course, yes, there's all the shingly beach sort of plants, which you would expect. But there's also lots, this was going to a site only a couple of 100 meters inland from the coast when we saw all the beautiful, beautiful orchids. I mean, you try not to dwell too much on orchids because you just could, because they're just so nice, and to see them is always a pleasure and have a look, and it's nice. But it's nice to see them in amongst other flowers as well, to see the orchids. I put these in, I think, because I've brought pinks in again. Again, I like to see pinks, and there's different pinks in different parts of the country. Kidney vetch. I didn't know for a long time that the one head of kidney vetch will do staggered flowering. I didn't know that. And obviously, when you see it, you realise that it does. That's one head of kidney vetch, and it does do staggered flowering. Somebody said to me that's to give itself the best chance of being fertilised. So it's one of those sensible flowers that work something out for itself. Now we're up into Lancashire. This is a typical Wildflower Society meeting. It's perhaps a typical one for you. Mixed ages and mixed dress, but all peering and looking and seeing and talking about the plants we see. That's another broom rape that they saw in that meeting. Some nice little pictures of different things there. We do spend a lot of time on the ground, in the grass, looking and peering with lenses, I suppose, and some nice orchids there. I do, the little plants are really nice, but then it's quite nice to see the blousy ones as well, the blousy, colourful ones as well. Okay, now here we are. This was the meeting with Audrey. I know you've all seen these because this is where you are, but I just want to share with you what, for somebody from living in Buckinghamshire, obviously I'm not from Buckinghamshire with an accent like mine, but from Buckinghamshire, what was lovely to see. And you see the picture on the left there. I was surprised that there's, I tend to think in Scotland that you sort of see lovely things, but you have to go a little bit of a distance between them. But you can see there in that first picture, almost like a meadow full of colourful flowers there. Where was that, Audrey, that one? Can you remember where that was?
I think that was Poynaffern, Strathdern,
Yeah.
at the end of the public road, sometimes
Yes,
known
it
as
was that. It was at the end of the public
Alley.
road. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. It was, yeah. But look how pretty that is with with the heather and uh, it's the orchid there in the middle, Rogasfield, lovely. And the monkshood, which again is unusual. I don't see that very often at all for me. And the wintergreens. Audrey took us to, I'm sure you've all seen this splendid place where there were the different ones all together, weren't there, Audrey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cromdale.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that was magic.
Mm.
And the twin flower, which was on my bucket list, the twin flower, to see and there we saw it. And actually we had a field meeting this year just because that was fortuitous. We don't usually do them abroad, but we did a field meeting to the Engadine this summer, and saw a lot of the alpine flowers there, of course, and so many of them. But twin flowers was one that was we saw in quite big numbers of them. But we saw them around Inverness. Right, now we come down to the cairngorms. I mean, I know all this scenery is your bread and butter, but for my husband and I, just driving around in Scotland is a pleasure, quite honestly. The scenery is brilliant. And I say we see different things. It's just a joy. We did go to Glencoe last year, mind you, in June for a week, botanising. And we did sorry, I forgot which I was going to say what we saw and then I just forgot it. But the temperature in the week in June never got above 9 degrees. It was, we were not really kitted out for 9 degrees in June, to be honest, but there you go. And obviously, in the cairngorms, some things we're looking at are things like the club mosses, which again is we certainly don't see club moss like this down in Buckinghamshire. I'm a physicist by training and by job, and we used to use lycopodium powder in physics experiments. You get a big glass tube, a long glass tube about 1 meter long, and put lycopodium powder in it, and then close off one end and put a loudspeaker at the other end and go through the frequencies. And the lycopodium powder is so light, it'll settle at the you'll see the node and antinode pattern. It'll settle at them. And I was rather pleased to see the plant that the lycopodium powder comes from. That was lunch on the Cairngorms at this particular meeting. And again, the serrated wintergreen and the Isles club moss, which was more of a challenge to find. I think that took quite a bit of walking and finding and looking. And we do some of our meetings are a bit tougher than others. I'm not sure that I'm up to the tough ones anymore with my new hip and new knee, but some people are. And these, there's a little lesser tway blade orchid, which again, nice to see, and Highland cudweed. Okay. Earlier this year, I think it was July. I have been to Holy Island before, botanising, but it's one of those places that's got some unusual things quite close together, and it's a lovely place to go. I think sometimes with botany, it's what we've got is a reason to go somewhere really nice, but we've got a reason to go there. So a reason to find something. It gives, well, perhaps a reason, perhaps an excuse to go somewhere. So we've had an excuse several times to go to Holy Island, it's just fun, isn't it? You've got to work out when you're going, because you've got to work out when you can get across the causeway, and when you can get back so that you don't get your car in the mud. And so this was Holy Island this year with Chris Metherell, who he was BSBI president about 2-3 presidents back, but he does an awful lot now with Northumberland Natural History Society, but doing it obviously on the botanical side for Chris. And Hazel, his wife, is Ferns into the Pteridological Society. And there on Holy Island, there's these things are quite easy to find in the dunes, the helleborines, and the Lindisfarne helleborine. I think perhaps I should have looked. I'm not sure whether or not that's the plant for Northumberland with Epipactis sancta. Sadly, it's recently had its DNA tested, and it's actually a dune orchid. But so that's a bit sad, because it was the Lindisfarne helleborine before, especially for Holy Island. But we won't mention that. But it's a nice little plant to find. And obviously we found the ordinary tway blade and other things on the trip there. Okay, that's a very unflattering picture of me, but I put it in because it was a very unflattering picture. That's down in Pagham. So we've now come from Holy Island right up north there. We're now down on the south coast at Pagham Harbour. And what do we see around Pagham Harbour? Well, yellow-horned poppies. And don't you always like to see a yellow-horned poppy? Why? Because the seeds are so silly, aren't they? I mean, the flower looks just normal, and the seed pod is about 1 foot long. And you think, how did that happen? How did that evolve? So again, nice to see. And the Jersey cudweed used to be, and now I don't suppose you've got that. Jersey cudweed used to be a picture with a plant with stars in Blamey. it's a rare plant you'd like to see. In round Pagham Harbour, it's just on all the pavements, down all the cracks, but it's moving north. I saw it a year ago in Bedfordshire. On a council estate in Bedfordshire, and apparently it's gone even further north than that now. And it's travelling fast. Again, you wonder how, probably wheels of cars and things like that. But it's no longer an unusual plant down here to see at all. And yet it wasn't very long ago that it was worth going out of your way to find it. Why have I put this one in? Moth mullein. We've all seen mulleins. Because what do you think of this? There's the bottom of the plant, and there's all the pebbles, because this was in the pebbles at the edge of the sea. And there's the flower at the top. That round little bit of white that you can hardly see, that's a moth mullein. And I presume it's called a moth mullein because it looks like a bit of a moth hovering above the plant. And we saw the Childing pink, which is now this is all very near the seafront. We didn't go very far at all. We just walked around along the strand and then along the pebbles at the back. And there's the Childing pink, which as we saw, I think it was Maiden pink we showed before. And when you see, and this is one thing with again stars to see, I don't know whether it's 2 or 3 star plant, Childing pink, but when you see it where it is, you don't see the one of them. When it's found a little place it loves, then there were a whole heap of them in that place, but not in somewhere else. Okay. Oh, yeah, no, I'm Folkestone Down now. I slipped this one in at the last minute on Folkestone Downs. I'm going to just put one photograph in it. Why? By the way, we were sitting there. What you can't see is that we were overlooking the big terminal for the Eurostar is at the bottom of the hill. So you look down and you see all these trains. But I've put it in so you could be really, really impressed with me, because that picture that I took of the late spider orchid on Folkestone Down got me first prize in the Up Close Wildflower Society photographic competition 2 years ago. By the way, I have to admit that there aren't hundreds of entries, but there are more than one. There are a handful of them. And I was quite pleased. It's the first time in my whole life I have ever won a prize. Well, been merit for anything artistic. And I took that photograph of a late spider orchid, so I was quite pleased with myself. It was interesting too, because the warden of the reserve apparently is a particular bee that fertilizes the late spider orchid. It's not a spider, it's a bee. But the bee's moved off and isn't there anymore. So at the right time of the year, the warden goes round with a little brush and he goes round the plants and he becomes the bee for the flowers so that they'll continue to be on that patch. See, that's dedication, isn't it? But what a flower! I mean, it's beautiful. Oh, right, we're in the New Forest now, and we had somebody trying to muscle in on our trip, which he did actually. It was a little bit disconcerting, to be honest. But again, the New Forest, there's certain places that really there's a lot of plants that are a bit unusual in a fairly small space. And the New Forest is one of those places, I suppose, because of how it's been managed and how it's been grazed. There's some different things there. And it's certainly worth a visit. They're getting more and more picky, though, about the size of group and where you can go to preserve the New Forest. Um, Here's some plants that we saw on that visit. I put this the creeping yellowcrest just because it had the gall on it. I'm not an expert on galls, and in fact, I don't know much about galls at all, but that had a gall on it. And a small fleabane, water purslane, and these were all just at that actually that place where you saw with the pig. This was all on that piece of grass just around there. These plants, these were not all over the New Forest. They were all on a small patch. Marsh St John's wort deserves a picture because again it's an unusual plant, isn't it? You think the St John's wort, and then this plant is so not like all the rest, that it deserves a special look at it. Oh, the bog orchid. Now with that, there are bog orchids in the New Forest, but you would need to be told where it was if you wanted to. Tricky to find, but lovely when you do find them. We're now up to this was in Surrey. This was on September the 13th this year on Cobham Common in Surrey. When somebody said we were going for a particular plant, that's why it was September the 13th. We were looking for a marsh gentian, so that's why it was a late season meeting. And I thought, a late season meeting, we're going to be lucky in September, especially when it's been a hot summer. We're going to be lucky to see very much at all. However, it was a nice day, and I was really amazed at the number of flowers we saw. This bloke here with the backpack on, he was the warden for the common, and he joined us in the afternoon, which was really good because he knew precisely where some things were that we wanted. And in fact, there on that, excuse me, and that picture there, one thing that as well as the marsh gentian that we wanted to see, another plant that we really wanted to see was the marsh club moss. But if you've seen the size of the common, it's huge, 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 huge. And to find a bit of marsh club moss on a huge common would have been a huge challenge for us. Happily, this bloke knew where to look, and that's what we were looking at the time, the marsh club moss. Obviously, it was quite marshy and boggy, so we did see two of the sundews. There's the marsh club moss which we saw. This one, there's pitcher plants. And you might say, well, what's that all about then? Well, it is an SSSI, so really there shouldn't be pitcher plants there allowed. But these pitcher plants have been on the common there since before anybody started knowing that they were there at all. So they've been there for over 100 years. And they apparently haven't increased, but they haven't decreased. So there was a decision made that seeing as they've been there for so long, they should be allowed to be there because that's a long time. So there is this little patch of pitcher plants, which is sort of, to come across that is a bit surprising there in Surrey, but there they were. And there's the marsh gentian that we saw, and yet another pink. When you see the Deptford pink there, we came across that where we'd parked our cars on the road, and just there outside the gate of a factory was some little pinks, which is very nice. Right. Well, I live on the edge of the Chilterns. So when Audrey organises the Inverness Botany Group's trip down to the Chilterns, and I take you round, this is what you're going to be able to see on my home patch. We're very lucky. On my home patch, we've got the Chilterns are chalk, so we have chalk escarpments, we have lots of orchids, we've got some nice plants. So I'll just give you a taster of what my home patch is like. Within a couple of miles of my house, we have the wild tulip. I know you're thinking, no way. Yep, we do. This is outside the back of Hillingdon, at the back of Hillingdon Church, out into the wood. And they've been there and recorded since something like 1834. So they've been there a long, long time. Yes, at some point in their lives prior to that, somebody must have had a trip to Turkey and come back with something in their bag or whatever. But they've been there for a long, long, long time now. They're quite a big patch of them. In fact, there's two sites, and they again, strange. They don't take over, but they don't disappear either. So there's two big patches, but they don't seem to spread beyond that. They seem happy where they are, and they keep coming up regularly, and it's very nice to see them. We have, and I don't know, we have coral root. It's a little bit outside the patch, but coral root, people say you can see it between Wickham and Watford. That's High Wycombe and Watford. And quite a lot of the woods between High Wycombe and Watford will have Cardamine bulbifera in. It's a sort of straggly plant, and if when it's not flowering, it's quite tricky to see. But when it's good flowering, it's like cuckoo flower. It's very pretty to see them. But what it has is these little bulbils on the stem, which it propagates by these bulbils. So that's a nice one for us in our woods. We've got a wood within a mile of this my house here, and in the early spring, May time, the wood is full of coral root. And this one, I don't know if you get Goldilocks buttercup, an early buttercup there. Again, I don't know what it is that draws me to these plants, but it's a silly plant, isn't it? Because Goldilocks buttercup, it always looks as though somebody's taken a bite out of it or something's happened to it, because the petals aren't even. They might be different sizes or not, or some missing, but they're not missing. That's what it is. That's what it comes up like. That's what Goldilocks buttercup is. It's sort of a raggedy plant, and sort of looking unfinished. I went to a talk not too long ago. Somebody had done said that actually there's, I don't know how many different subspecies of Goldilocks buttercup, and I thought, do you know what? I'm not sure I want to know about that. I just like Goldilocks buttercups looking like a bit silly, but apparently there's all sorts of subspecies of them. We have the Chiltern gentian. The Chiltern gentian, you can see all this sort of ruffling here on the a bell shape, sort of. It looks all a bit ruffled. It's not an itsy bitsy gentian. It sounds sort of it can be up to a foot high. It's robust, and there's quite a few sites for it. In fact, next year I'm doing a meeting in Bedfordshire with John Wakely, who's the VC Bedfordshire, and he said, Janet, we've got a brilliant site with hundreds of Chiltern gentians on. He said, I'm doing a meeting there. So that'd be nice to see. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed our whistle stop tour around the UK. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Janet. That was amazing. I would say that I've seen probably about 10% of what you showed, and not even heard the names of most of them. I'm not a
Not right.
botanist. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Completely opened my eyes to what there is outside the Highlands, and I haven't seen all of the ones in the Highlands anyway, as everyone can testify. So it was amazing.
All right.
I
think we've got, I mean, we went over to the Engadine last summer and you see, you see swathes of gentians, etc. But I have to say, we've got variety. And when you do see them, that we might not see like with the twin flower, we might not see thousands and hundreds and millions of them, but that doesn't make it any, it's really quite special when you do see them. So we've got the variety is brilliant. And I don't know, I get a buzz out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, yes. Well, thank you very much. And just like to open it up. Anyone who's got any questions or comments they'd like to make to Janet on her presentation or any aspect of the Wildflower Society? I can't see anyone.
Oh, Rose going to ask a
Rose,
question.
do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to ask it's more about the Wildflower Society, because I had heard, I don't know if it's still the case, that there was a kind of competitive element to it, that you have to a sort of league table of how many plants people have seen in a year. Does that still operate, or is that?
I think in years gone by they used to they have diaries, and we have a sort of system of branch secretaries, and people used to keep a diary and send it up to the branch secretary. And if you saw up to a certain number, then you went into, I don't know what they called it.
I was hearing people going to Valhalla and
that's right.
That.
That's right. Well, I'm afraid it's very few now of the people that do that. There are some people that do it. Some people do diaries when they start. I never have myself. I think that element of it is not very strong at all now. There's a few people, I think, but it's not a driving force anymore. I think one thing I've heard people said, we're a bit train spotterish. Well, I think we probably are. I mean, in that there wasn't, when I became interested, there was no local botany group in Buckinghamshire. We've now created a small one as a sort of, I'm a BSBI member as well, a small group, a sort of sub BSBI group that locally. When I joined, there was no local group at all. Else I might have joined a local group. So when I joined the Wildflower Society, and it has been, I have found it a joy to go around the UK. It's a reason to visit somewhere and to see lovely things.
Certainly seem to get around anyway, all places you've got to.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. I mean, because we tend to do short holidays, like a weekend or 2 or 3 days here and there, rather than do big trips abroad. We don't really do that at all, and I like it. I mean, other people, either because of their circumstances or what they're interested in, perhaps stay more local and join a local group. But I say, because at the time, I didn't join a local group because there wasn't one. I joined the Wildflower Society, and I found that actually it suits me very well. So I think you're right. I think it used to be a bit of a competitive feel.
More like twitching sort of thing.
Yeah, but
that's not so much nowadays.
Well, it's not the way people work anymore, really, is it? And we all take
bird watchers.
And you take photos with pictures on your camera, really, just quick little pictures as aides memoir, rather than being serious photographers or anything like that. So you're probably right, Ro. In the past, I think you're correct, and the present, I don't think today's people want to do that sort of thing particularly. No.
Right, thanks.
Can I ask about your field trip program?
Yeah.
We're sitting here about to start planning our 2026 program. Last year, I think we had maybe 20 meets in the 12 months. So I'm thinking about the organisation of 67 meets. How do you do
64 next year I've done.
64? Oh, only a mere 64. How on earth do you do it? I mean, have you got, I mean, do you have volunteers that offer from your membership or your, how on earth
How
can
do I
I
do it?
organize it?
Well, remember, I've built up to this over in the years now, and I did start without a network because, of course, I'm a physicist. I'm not done botany. I've no friends from university or all that sort of thing. I have nothing like that. But we went on. My husband and I went on quite a few meetings ourselves, and you get to know people. And I have found people who are interested in flowers are very often, like Audrey was, interested in actually sharing as well. So they quite like to. They're quite willing to spend a day with you, looking and sharing. Oh, my husband's just brought a glass of wine in. That's rather nice, isn't it? Um, I'm a member of BSBI, and I made a point over the years of going to the BSBI annual exhibition meeting. And if I ever sat at a lunchtime with anybody, by the end of the lunchtime, they'd be offering us a field meeting. So,
That's
so
how to do it.
so I've networked like that. I've used our membership, but then you have to know the membership to do it, and we've nobody. I don't have anybody local, so I have to meet them on meetings. Or quite honestly, I sometimes a cold call, and I'll say, I'm looking to do a meeting in this area. Can you either give me an idea of good location or a good person? Because very often if I get a location, I can find somebody, or if I find somebody, I can find a location. And I just sort of work on it really. And people often pass you on to somebody else. And last year when I wanted to do Connemara and the Burren and Wexford and Waterford, I started with a blank piece of paper. So I started by calling the VCs, and actually also Michelin, who was the BSBI president, was from a lecturer at Galway University. So I got in touch with her and said, "Can you suggest people that might be able to help?" And by process of following through on leads, we managed to get the VC Connemara did the trip there. The VC from the Burren put me in touch with Sinead Keane for the Galway, for County Clare, and then Paul Green, who was VC County Waterford, did that. So it's using BSBI as well. And they're very, the VCs are very, well, they're obviously very keen on their plants and are very often very keen to share. So I just keep trying.
And are you trying to cover the area of your membership, or
That's
just
exactly right. I
like,
tried within the best I can. One of the first things I did was plot a graph of where all our members were. And one thing that I try to make it that every member can at least access at least one field meeting that's within a day trip
right?
that they wouldn't have to go away for. Now I can't always do it, but I do try to do that. And I found we had two members in Northern Ireland, only two. So I got in touch with them both personally and said, I have no contact in Northern Ireland, but if you suggest somewhere to me, I'll try and arrange something. One said, I can't believe this. I just happy getting the magazine. I don't want to go on a trip. And the other person never replied.
Hasn't replied.
I do try.
Can I just ask, do you pass on records to the Vice County Recorder? I know you're often being led by the Vice County Recorder, but often not. And certainly my experience as a Vice County Recorder is people often go to places and see things and they don't tell you, and they find things, you know.
I know, and
And so
I believe the new BSBI app is makes it all very easy to do that. By the way, it's much easier. We don't, as a matter of course, we don't. People do what they want at a meeting. So some people, like I take a record of everything I see at a meeting. Some people just enjoy the meeting because we have all abilities at all meetings. So you get some people who are really stunningly able, like you would be, and other people that it's about their first meeting. So we have a mixed group, and some people do pass their what they see on, but we don't make that an issue at all. Some people do that, but it would be up to them themselves whether they chose to or not. We would not include that as part of the what we did on the meeting. As they,
it shouldn't be work, should it? I mean,
sorry,
it shouldn't be work. It's meant to be pleasure.
That's right. But I do think they've made it easier. We had a talk by Dave Barlow a few weeks ago, who's VC North Yorks, and he was singing the praises of the new BSBI app, and he said it really has made it that you can do this without any fuss, and it'll be checked at the other end as to whether it is a likely or not when it comes through to the VC. Yeah.
I've been using the BSBI app all year and
Oh,
find
right.
it really, really good.
Oh,
I'm dyslexic, so quite often at the end of a field trip, I'll be looking at my list of plants and think, what on earth is that? Because I can't read my own writing. Don't have that problem with an app. So
good.
yeah, it's been
Oh, good.
great.
Oh, good. Thanks for that, Audrey. Thank you.
Anyone else, anything they want to add tonight? No? Looks like we're all just now waiting for spring. Well, actually waiting for the first thing is in our calendar with the New Year plant hunt. And we'll go out and see. I would imagine, do you do the New Year plant hunt, Janet? Down there in the south of England?
The answer is no. I usually have, in our family, we have the largest house. Therefore, Christmas, the family descends and stays a long time.
I'm just asking because
So,
we struggle to see between 18 to 20 plants
all
in the
right.
New Year plant hunt, and I look with envy at these people who are
Oh, yeah.
finding 70 or
Elizabeth,
60
you won't be the winners in the groups, will you then? Never.
never. So I would think down your way it might be a little bit more successful
Yeah.
in terms of plants.
I always fancy doing it, but I've usually got a house full of people, and that's the end of the story.
Maybe it's a good thing to take them all out for a health-giving walk for an hour. It's only an hour, isn't it? A health-giving walk to find some botany. There you go. Maybe help get your new year off to a start with your family, or maybe chase them away.
Yeah.
Well, it just remains me to thank you, Janet, very much for your time and wonderful photographs this evening. It's really given us a lot to think about.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. It's always a bit tricky knowing what to say and what to do, and it's a bit of an odd thing, Zoom meetings. I appreciate that from both sides, really. I mean, with a live meeting, you can bounce off the audience. It's a bit more tricky to bounce off the audience on a Zoom meeting. But I did drag Audrey in a few times.
Oh no, it was wonderful. Wonderful seeing those flowers that I've never heard of, and seeing the places that you're going, because I'm my botanizing. Well, I've done a little bit of outside Scotland, but it's mostly been within the Highlands. So it's fascinating to see what you can see if you
You've
just
got plenty to keep you going.
yes, get a few more miles under our belts. Well, thank you very much. And just before we finish, I just want to remind people that our next meeting is on the Zoom meeting is on the 9th of December, and row down there. is the speaker. She's talking about her meanderings as a botanist.
It's
So,
going to be quite similar, really, but just around the Highlands and Islands.
mhm. Well,
Similar
as
kind
we know, that is
of travelogue
interesting,
approach.
exciting enough. So
Oh,
thanks everyone for your time
I can
tonight.
see now. Look out, Ro. I'll be asking for, because we've not been able to do any on the islands because in Scotland, because I have no people I know there, but I can see it. I can see a line in now.
Oh well,
No, we like an island in the Highlands. We've got a few.
yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah.
like going to the islands, different islands for our trips. Well, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for coming this evening, especially Faye from her hospital bed.
Yes.
And I'll see you all
you.
next month. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.